Okay guys, well thank you very much for coming to my little tutorial here on the basics of Photoshop. And that's what it is, it's just the basics right now. I am by no means an expert when it comes to Photoshop, but it does have its little things that I do know how to use, and so that's what I thought I would share with you folks. So first thing I would like to start off with is just the basics, like how the interface actually works. So this is your interface of Photoshop. Our version anyways, there's newer versions out there, but this is the one that's pretty well throughout the district. And so this little bar here at the side is our toolbar where we'll get lots of our tools from as we're working away. Some of the tools that we'll use quite a bit is that one. That's your move tool. That enables you to move things around on your screen. These are your marquee tools. Okay, so you can select different portions of your photo, or this lets you be really specific as to whether what you want to select. This is your magic wand, and there's two different options under here. And so your magic wand allows you to select a region of colors, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Here's our cropping tool. Okay, and then we have also a slice tool. And so if you ever get into some of the advanced things where you're doing some HTML stuff, you can use your slice tool to divide your picture up into different categories for HTML. We have our eyedropper. That allows us to select specific colors. Okay. We also have a ruler tool so that we can see how long certain things are. Notes if you want to put notes on particular areas, but I don't really use those very often, but I do use the eyedropper quite a bit. Here's your healing tool, and it's quite a popular place to go, especially if you're trying to like clean up blemishes on someone's face, etc. Red eye tool, I'll be going through that, how to remove red eye from someone's from your photos. Here's your brushes, and so you've got a brush tool, you've got a pencil tool, color replacement tool if you want to replace a color on a particular area. Okay, your cloning tool, I'll go over how we use that, and you can use a pattern as well, but I'll be going through the cloning portion. Here we've got our history brush. I don't really use it very much. I have a different way that I like using, and I'll show you how I like to use the history. Basically, it's like allowing you to undo stuff. Here's our eraser, so you can erase different areas. It's also a background eraser tool and a magic eraser tool. Magic eraser is very similar to the oops, sorry, where is it? There we go, through the magic wand, but it automatically deletes areas that are very similar in color. Here we've got our gradient tool and our paint bucket tool, so if you want to fill with particular colors. We've got our blur tool, our sharpen tool, and our smudge tool if you ever want to like just kind of blend two photos together. These are very great places to go. Here's our dodge tool and our burn tool. So if you're ever wanting to brighten your teeth or someone's teeth in a photo, this is where you would go. If you get into vectors, which we won't get into this time, this is where you get into your vectors, which is like using different points in your drawings. Our text tool, and you can go different vertically or horizontal. Okay, our selection tool. Here we have different rectangles or ovals, polygons, lines, etc. So those are some of the basic tools that we use. And then along at the top here are where we have all our different menus. And right now you'll see that they're grayed out. And so when they're grayed out, such as these are, means you can't use them. I can't use them right now because there's nothing open. But if you see them black, like these ones, then we can actually use them. So lots of different filters and different editing adjustments that we can do as we're going along. So let's just get started on, let's just talk a little bit about some of our layers. So let's just create a new document. So in here, we can actually give it its name. So when we go to save it, the name will already be there. So this is like a demo on layers that we're going to do. Here you can choose how big you would like your document to be. I usually work in inches. You can do inches or centimeters, millimeters if you like. You can even work in pixels. Um, let's just stick with inches for right now. And whichever one you choose, it will automatically change the one below it for the height as well. So I'm just going to make a standard letter size piece of paper. My resolution, I usually like to work a resolution of 300. Reason being is that way if I do want to get something printed off, say at Walmart or Costco, the resolution will be fine. I'm not going to see any kind of pixelation or whatever. Okay. In color mode, RGB, most of our monitors work in RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. So that's what I usually keep it at for now. You can go into 16 or 32-bit if you would like. It just gives you some more different options when you're working with your colors. I'm just going to stick with 8-bit for right now. So I'm going to click OK. There is my canvas. Okay. So believe it or not, that is a regular size piece of paper that we use in our photocopiers. If I want to see what it actually looks like, I can click on the word View, and I can see, actual pixels, and then that will fill it right in. So that's what it would look like in real life. And I'm going to zoom out, and so it'll zoom out a little bit, but I want to fit it on my screen here, so I'm going to click on fit on screen, and so there, everything's back in there. Over here is where we've got a lot of different portions as well, and this is where I get my different colors that I want to use. Okay, under layers, you'll see it's kind of like layers are layers, right? It just makes sense. So it's like we're using onion paper, so you can put one piece on top of the other, and that's how layers actually work. If there's nothing there that's blank like it is here, all you have to do is just double click on the word layers, and they'll pop up. If that whole thing is not there, what you can do is you just go to the word Windows, and there's the word layers, and then it'll come back. Okay. So what I thought I would do is I'd show you a couple of ways that you can put different photos on here. So let's say you want to make a collage. Let's say you went on a trip to Europe and you want to make a collage of your trip. You want to make it, letter size. There's a couple of ways that you can put pictures on there. First and foremost, you can go File and then Place. And so these are some of the pictures that we'll be working with today. So let's say, for example, I wanted to put this picture here on. Just select it, hit place. So then I will place the picture there. Now I don't want the picture that large, so I can hold the Shift key down, and by holding the Shift key down, that keeps it in proportion. And then I can move it around, and then I'll hit the check mark. If I'm not happy with it there, I can choose the Move tool again, and make sure that I've got my little marquee boxes around the sides. Whoops. If they're not there, right, I don't see my boxes, just make sure you're on the Move tool, and you put a little check mark here beside Show Transform Controls, and then I can either make it larger or smaller if I need to. Now Photoshop's pretty good at matching the resolution that you are on for yourself. And so you can see when I've placed that photo on here that it has created a new layer. So I'm going to put another picture on here, and I'll show you a different way to do it. So I'm going to open, let's say, for example, the RCMP. Okay, so I want to drag that photo onto that other one. So I'm going to grab this tab. You can see I've got different tabs up here now. I'm going to grab this tab, pull it down, and I'm going to hit Select All, and that will choose the whole picture. Now I don't have to do Select All. I can choose my marquee tool, and then I can choose the portion that I want. Or maybe I just want that much. Or if I want the whole thing, Select All will select the whole picture. So you can kind of choose what you would like. And then before I move it, I need to go back to my Move tool. Lots of times people try to move when they're still on the marquee tool, and it won't work. It'll move the marquee, but it won't move the actual image. But if I select the Move tool, come back here, and I click and hold, and I just drag it onto my canvas, it will move the whole picture over. And so now I'm done with this. I can close it, and then I can take this photo, resize it, and I'm going to try to make it about the same width as the baby. And there we go. Okay, so now I've got my two photos. I've got the RCMP, and then I've got my baby. Oops, that has red eye, which we'll be working with later. I'm going to put one more on here. Let's put Sylvester on here. And then this allows to see how layers actually work. So here's my three different photos. Okay. And so you can see that the RCMP are on top of Sylvester. That's because the RCMP is at the top. So it says layer 1. So I can rename that if I would like to. So I can right click and there we go. Double click will not work. Right clicking is not working, so I can just rename my layer. Okay. Number 3. I know I'm on number 3 because it's got the marquees. So let's just call that Sly. And then this one is the baby. And so we can reorganize this. So let's say, for example, I want the baby on top of Sylvester. So I'm just going to take Sylvester, put him below the baby, and then you can see how it adjusts. Maybe I want Sly on top of here. So therefore I would take the RCMP and put RCMP there. So that way you can adjust how your photos are and what order you would like them to be. So now what I want to do is I want to save this. So I'm going to go File, Save As. And my suggestion is you always want to save it as a PSD. That will save it with your layers. So I'm just going to, and you can see the file name that I put in when I made the canvas came up. And so I'm going to hit Save. Okay. Now I'm also going to save it as a JPEG. And most places that print, Costco, London Drugs, Walmart, want your images as a JPEG. But with a JPEG, what it will do, and I will save that as a JPEG will flatten it. And so here is my PSD document. You can see that it says PSD right there. I'm going to open this version of the JPEG. Okay, so that's the JPEG. Same document, but you can see that there's no layers for the JPEG. So I always encourage my students to save their work as a PSD, and then when everything is done and they're happy with it, save it as a JPEG. Now PSDs are much larger in size, so let's just see how big that one is. That's 13 megabytes, whereas the JPEG, I think it's only 1.3 or 1.8. 1.4. So you can see there's quite a big difference in size, but hey, that's okay. I don't want to lose my layers. So that's the start of it, just how to save, how the toolbars work, how to use your layers. Thanks. Coming up next is the history.